Welcome to the scorching arena of valor and the crucible of courage. This is the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Here, in the inferno of life's greatest challenges, heroes are shaped and legends are born. Every episode is a torchlight of wisdom, casting a glow on the paths walked by those who've braved the flames and emerged stronger. In this furnace of fortitude, we'll explore tales of resilience, bravery, and the unyielding human spirit. Each guest brings their own spark of insight, lighting up the darkness and guiding us through the smoke of adversity. With Fireman Rob at the helm, prepared to delve into conversations that smolder with significance and stories that kindle the soul. It's not just a podcast, it's a beacon for all who seek to rise from the ashes and glow with purpose. So stoke the fires of your curiosity and ready your heart for tales of triumph and transformation. The flames are roaring. The stage is ablaze. Welcome to the Forged in the Fires podcast. Let the journey begin.
All right, welcome back to Forged in the Fires podcast. I'm your host, Fireman Rob. Today we have a pioneer, a thought leader. He is a TEDx speaker. He's a teacher. He's a facilitator. He's taught more people than you can imagine. He is a man, a myth, a legend. Let's start the show. Miroslav Petrovic, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Rob. That's some introduction, especially with your tone of voice. I'm like, I missed the American accent.
Well, if you need me ever on tour, just let me know. I'll be there for you. We can record it.
I like it.
I love it, man. Well, it's such an honor to have you on. I mean, you've done such amazing work, and I love the embodied speaking. I love what you talk about. I want to go back in time though, because I want to know where this all came from. What led you to being that speaker, that communicator, to impact others' lives?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel it's a similar story, at least when you break through the other end. It's like our biggest pain becomes our biggest virtue, you know?
Yes.
And on my end, I came to Australia as a refugee from the war in Yugoslavia, very socially introverted. I was 5 years old, used to stutter. People often just assumed I was mute because of how little I used to speak. So that was the beginning, and that lasted up until probably I started meditating around the time I hit college, so 18 or 19. And meditation was at least the first sense of relief from that experience, you could say. Yeah,
that's amazing that, to go from, well, actually I want to go back because I want to, going to Australia, that had to be a tough kind of change of scenery, or were you young enough that you didn't know and you just kind of adapted?
Probably a bit of both. Like, I definitely have some memories, primary school, kind of like the first year of coming here, not being able to speak the language, being teased, not being able to fit in, feeling very awkward about the whole thing. So those memories are definitely there. There's very few memories before coming to Australia. That's pretty like a hazy place.
Oh, wow.
So it's a bit of a balance, and I think it's also a blessing coming at that age because I'd never tried to learn the language. After time, I just picked it up.
With people around, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Now, when you started kind of adapting and like you were saying, you had struggles, you had people that were making fun of you. How did, at a young age, how were you able to kind of get yourself through it? Because I know there's a lot of kids that go through kind of things like that. How did you do you remember how you got yourself through those things to be able to get to where you are now?
I think at that age, I just learned to keep out of people's way, stay really quiet, not make eye contact. Like, I was quite good natured, so I always had friends and people around me that would look out for me as well. But I think my way was really just to avoid anything that, could be confrontational or whatever. So it's kind of weird that, my way of getting by in the world for a long time was not being seen. Like that was my superpower, being like a quiet little mouse.
That's your superpower. That's crazy. Just to think about that and the transition to where you are now. You're sitting here, you're smiling at me, and you're on your page, and it's so amazing to see. Now you're talking about workplace culture. Talk to me how what you went through and how you've transitioned to where you are now. How does that help to be able to speak about workplace culture?
Yeah, I feel one thing that I picked up from such a long time of being internal, introverted, if you will, is the more subtle dynamics at play interpersonally. And I can't say to you like, oh, I was taking notes on this while I was, 10 years old or something. I wasn't. I was very much stuck in my experience. It was a horrible place. I didn't want to be there. But now when I've come out of the other side and I start communicating with people, there's just an awareness that I'm picking up on a lot more subtlety than most people are aware of. Like the way we repress saying what we want to say, the eye contact we don't make, the filler words we use when we're afraid to say what we really want to say. And this can be in the workplace of like, hey, I want a raise, or I'd like this to change, or it can be asking someone out on a date, or it can just be changing the dynamic of an existing partner. But it's like how we rob ourselves of the truth that wants to be expressed, and all the very clever strategies we've found to keep that suppressed, so we don't have to see ourselves.
That's so true. It was great. I like when you said the fact of the filler words, or when we don't make the eye contact. Do you see that there's more and more nowadays with that virtual presence, with all this other stuff, that people are inept in that category?
I don't know if the virtual, I'm sure the virtual presence plays a part, especially in the younger generation. With like, it is a very different world, like even we saw during COVID, people would be having Zoom calls wearing a very work-based t-shirt and, like swimming shorts. It's like the world of communication and all these layers is definitely changing.
Yeah. And it's changing, when you think about the eye contact, I have 3 kids, and so it's so important, I think, for people to understand that eye contact and not using filler words and being genuine. What does that mean when you're talking to groups and everything? Because you're genuine, I'm guessing, about your journey to where you are. How do you display that to other people, that genuineness that they need to display to be able to be that person speaking to others?
For me, I found, like, I know this might sound a bit, it's a weird choice of words, but just being as open-hearted as I possibly can be. And
makes sense.
For me, if I open myself and I'm as transparent as possible, and by this I don't mean like, when sometimes we throw these words around like transparent and vulnerable, people are like, oh, I have to spill my therapy to the people I'm speaking to. I'm like, no, you just have to open your heart. And this can be as simple as just smiling. Like for some people, they are so, they're experts in their field, but they will not smile. And a smile can be very vulnerable because it lets people into your world. Like,
that's so true.
These simple moments of connection. If it's in a more intimate setting, reaching out and saying to someone like, hey, can I hold your hand? That is a great moment of vulnerability, because you're extending yourself beyond where you usually might coexist. In a sense. And what I often invite people to look at is what are the patterns that we're naturally stuck inside of. Like for some people, smiling can be nothing. They can be like, oh, I smile at everyone all the time. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you're using smiling as a way of keeping yourself safe. And the area you're not going to, like, the classical one is, I find I have had a couple of friends that were ridiculously funny, but they would not go into any kind of deep and meaningful thing in a public space. If there's more than 2 people, they just wouldn't go there. It just wasn't safe in their system. But whenever it was just like me and them, they could be ridiculously open and deep and all these things. But it's like the public persona they developed just wouldn't allow for that level of connection with more than one person at a time.
That's interesting.
I also want to say, it doesn't have to, but when you start speaking to people from stage, you do want to develop the capacity to go deeper than just the surface, because you're going to stand out instantly.
Yeah, that's so true. And I love that you are now helping people to speak, because what a transition. I mean, what does it mean for you to be able to be that person that helps others who maybe felt like didn't have a voice? Kind of like what you said when you were younger. How does it feel to be able to be that person that helps them find that voice, and not only find that voice, but enunciate it when they're standing up in front of people?
Absolute humility. It's like recognizing that something has been suppressed for so long, and I'm in that moment with the person, with the people, as it comes to fruition. Like as that, lump in the throat is finally released, and they can breathe and smile and say what they need to say. I don't know. It's kind of what I live for. Those moments. They're just irreplaceable. And the bigger piece as well, Rob, is like seeing that it's not really about the stage. Like I just had a woman message me just after Christmas, and she goes, Miroslav, and she came to one of my trainings a couple of years ago, and she messaged me saying, I just want to let you know that, I'm paraphrasing here, that the work I did with you has absolutely changed my life. She's like, I just went back to my family and I spent 3 or 4 days over Christmas with them, and I haven't done this in decades. Like It's been intolerable to spend that kind of time around them. And whoever I've allowed myself to become in the parts of myself I've been able to cultivate and feel safe with and communicate with, it's changed my dynamic to be able to step back into the family.
That's so powerful. It is powerful to be able to have that, not only good self-talk, but also be able to speak your truth. When do you remember that first time that you spoke your truth and how that felt?
Yeah, I'll tell you the first moment that comes to mind. I was sitting in this experience. It was some kind of workshop thing, and I think at the end we all had to share, our final thoughts, what we got from it, blah, 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 something like that.
Right.
And I was feeling a lot of fear around this. This was like one of the first kind of, workshop things I'd ever been to.
Yeah.
And as I started feeling the fear, it came around to me, and I looked at the guy facilitating, and I was like, can we keep going around the circle? I want to go last. Oh, wow. And like when you have to get on stage and speak, it's like you're waiting for that moment that you can get on. You're usually dreading it. Like this is before we get used to the experience.
Yeah.
And then like when it happens, it's like, finally it's out of my system. I can just relax. So I had this one round of, it came to me and the tension built up, and I was like, no, I don't want to release this tension. I want to hold the tension. I want to stop running from this experience of being seen. So I let it go around, and all the other people spoke, and then it came back to me. And I just had a breakthrough in there where I was like, this is the first time in my life where I'm not trying to get rid of this feeling, either by just jumping in and being first and getting it off my chest, or like hiding and saying, actually, I don't want to speak at all. It was just this sense of how long can I ride and savor and delight in the feeling of tension my body's experiencing right now. And recognizing that experience in my body is not something that can keep me stuck. It's like, I don't know, as a kid, you hate broccoli and then you decide you're not going to hate it. And it's like, okay, broccoli doesn't have power over me anymore.
That's totally different, speaking in broccoli, I think.
I don't know why broccoli is always the one that gets a bad rap.
I still don't like broccoli, man. I'll speak all day. I love it. Well, it's so powerful to hear. And I think that's a powerful part of you being able to speak to people, because you're speaking the truth of your life. How awkward was it? And for me, it was very awkward. Like the first time you kind of humbled yourself to speaking about the failures or the shortcomings that you had. How did it feel the first time that you kind of let that go of the humbleness of the shortcomings, to be able to tell people that this isn't just your path, it's my path too?
I don't know if I'm answering specifically what you're asking, but I feel the biggest piece was recognizing it's not about me. Like this message that huge. Wants to be shared, it's about giving it to the people. And I have to be, completely transparent for that to happen. My own stuff around why I think I can't do this, it's irrelevant. It's like, if this has allowed me to receive this freedom, the best gift and offering I can do is to share it with other people.
That's exactly. You answered it perfectly.
Perfect.
I love that. I love that part. Yeah. And make sure you go to Miroslav you can find out more about him and his speaking and his training. Now, when you move to Australia, do you primarily do your presentation, your training for individuals in Australia, or is it also other places?
It's primarily in Australia. I do have people that join my programs, from the States, from Canada, from Europe, etc. But this in-person stuff is primarily in Australia, and then the online stuff people join in from anywhere.
I was going to say, because I don't have that Australian accent, and I wish I did, because I mean, my wife would probably like me more and everything, but it's totally different. You get the Canadian accent. I'm close to Canada, so it's different. But what is one of your favorite things about Australia that you've come to love over the years?
I think the space, the land, it's a city is like any city, but there is so much space outside of the cities that's vast and open and beautiful. And I've just always found the nature in Australia very special.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right.
On the accent, it's funny. There is always this moment when I've been traveling and I get back from like that flight home to Australia, and you hear the Australian accent again, like just the stewards or the captain or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I'm home. Something inside me can relax. It's like there's that familiar accent again.
That's the hard thing. In the U.S., we have the East Coast, the West Coast, the Midwest, the South. There's so many different accents. It's unreal. I never feel like I'm at home, except when I hear an Australian accent. It's very
Have you
calming.
been to Australia?
I've been to New Zealand, but not Australia. I'm going to have to come to Australia because it's unbelievable, I hear.
Yeah, I had someone on my Instagram recently just drop a comment. Usually I put captions when I'm doing like videos and stuff, and I didn't put a caption this time. And he was like, Miroslav, I love what you're saying, but I can't actually understand you. Can you put the captions back, please?
the Australian closed caption. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love that. Well, Miroslav, it's been an honor to have you on, but I always end the podcast the same way with 3 questions. Are you ready for those 3 questions?
Yeah, take it away.
All right. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
I feel it would be a hug. I would get very close to his ear and just whisper to him, everything's going to be okay.
I love that. That's perfect. All right. Second one, everybody's going through their own struggles and challenges. And if you could give them 2 habits that they can incorporate into their daily life to continue to push forward, to continue to live in a forward direction, what would those 2 habits be?
The first one would be meditation. And when I say meditation, think of meditation a bit like eating food. There is thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of different ways you can combine your foods. And sometimes people say to me, I don't like meditation. I'm like, it's like saying you don't like food. You have to find the food that you do like. And it's the same with meditation. Like, find the practices that work for you to find a sense of stillness and connection to yourself. That would be like my baseline, whether that's an active meditation or a seated one. Just like that sense of silence inside ourselves is crucial. And the second, it's a bit of a different practice, and this really links in for me with what we've been speaking about, is find ways to express what's really true to you. Whether that means writing it through letters, speaking it, but just when those moments and your heart starts beating and it feels scary, is just to see what happens if you lean in. And you have to trust yourself in your own life here. Like, I can't be responsible for the things you say. No one else can. But I've found in my life some of the most beautiful and sometimes challenging moments that have been beneficially challenging have opened up from those moments of like, this is scary, but I can't live life the way it has been. I'm going to lean into saying this, to calling this person, to expressing this part I've been holding back.
I love that. This last one's going to be interesting because I have no idea who you're going to pick. If you could sit down at a firehouse table, so in other words, any question, you can ask any question, it's going to be answered with 3 people. Now they can be deceased or alive. Who would those 3 people be?
Do I have to ask them the same question?
Oh, no, you're just going to sit down. No, you're sitting down having coffee with them. Yeah, it could be an hour. It can be 7 hours.
Okay.
We'll be hopped up by 7 hours.
Nikola Tesla would be the easy first one.
Good one.
I mean, there's also like my background's Serbian, so I'm like Novak Djokovic would probably be one of them, just what he's achieved with his life at the moment.
He would be interesting.
And I feel the last one, I'm like, I don't know, maybe, God, I want to say Eisenhower, that's not his name. The American president, abolition, what's his name, Lincoln?
Lincoln, yep.
Yeah, I feel there's
Lincoln.
something in that level of leadership that draws me, like really understanding how you hold so many opposing points of view and amidst all the personal struggle. Like he had some pretty heavy depression, children dying young. To be able to hold the vision and hold himself together through all of that, there's a sense inside me that's just like, how? Like what kept you going? How did you,
That's a pretty
if we had
good
podcasts back then.
Oh, I know. Wouldn't that be
I
great?
don't know.
That's why I love
I don't know how Lincoln's going to feel at that table. He's like, why am I here with these guys?
He's like, wait a second. Is this coffee? I love it. He's like, I'm here with a basketball player. What is that? You guys have peach baskets? I love it. Well, make sure you go to miroslavp.com to find out more. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been an honor.
Thank you for having me, Robert. It's been beautiful talking to you.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. And please share this episode with a friend or family member. To find out more about Fireman Rob, or if you have a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.